Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Right, we did this interview in the summer. It went down well, so I've got Dharmesh back and I'm going to be picking his brains a little bit, trying to get the latest West Ham transfer rumours and news out of him. But first of all, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Approaching midway point of the transfer window. So once it gets past that midway point, you can see the light at the end of a very long tunnel, because it's a very long month for us at Sky Sports News, I have to say.
Are you enjoying it? It must be like Christmas for you, this though. All this commotion, all these rumours, all this
Christmas. I hear this a lot. I'm not. Don't get many presents during this month. So you don't get many presents at Christmas either. Look, I still get the buzz. If you get a good story, the adrenaline rush is still there, no question. It is good. Work with lots of really good people as well, on various different projects. You know about the podcast, and you know one of my colleagues, Nick, of course. So still working with him. We did our first one yesterday, and then there's the transfer shows as well with my friend Carve. People think we're not friends, but we are.
People think that about me and Gonzo, don't worry, but me and Gonzo are friends as well. Right, well, speaking of juicy stories, is that in the summer you led with the Kurt Zouma one, we end up signing them, so you've got a tick in the Hammers chat book, a little bit of kudos for you there. This one, you've been leading with the Gabriel Barbosa stuff. A couple of weeks ago, you broke the news that we were interested in him, an 18-month loan deal. What's the sort of latest with that at the minute? Because you had a bit of an update last night as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't guarantee that he's going to sign. Like, I couldn't guarantee Zouma was going to sign, but I mean, that one worked out for West Ham. This one's slightly different. I mean, at the start of this window, it started emerging through a contact of mine that West Ham United were interested, and the proposal they put on the table was that 18-month loan plus a 30 million euro option to buy. Then it kind of went quiet, and people were putting two and two together, because we know that David Moyes has the final decision when it comes to signings. And because it went quiet, people were saying, right, it's because David Moyes doesn't want him. That could still be the case. But what I was told yesterday is that even though it had gone quiet, and even though at the time it was increasingly unlikely that West Ham were going to pursue this deal, I'm told that the deal is still on the table. The interest does remain. So that 18-month loan plus the 30 million euro option price is still on the table. Now, as far as Gabriel Barbosa, or Gabigol, as he's also known, is concerned, he wants to make a move to England. He has made that clear. And the reason is he had a spell at Inter Milan where he didn't get the opportunities that he wanted. He didn't get the opportunities he thought he was going to get. And it's almost like a case of unfinished business in European football. And he sees England as the place to almost showcase his talents again on the European stage. So it's a case now of, can West Ham United do the deal? It's going to depend on Flamengo. And Flamengo, for their part, do not want to loan him, do not want to sell him during this transfer window. However, the other bit of information that I was told is that at some point today, Gabriel Barbosa, his agents, will be meeting with Flamengo officials, where he will make it clear that if a suitable offer does come in, he would want to speak to that club in England. Now, West Ham are there. That the interest is there. It's just whether Flamengo would sanction any kind of deal. But if you look at it from Gabigol's perspective, he's got 104 goals in 147 games for Flamengo. He's got 5 goals in 17 caps for Brazil. He's actually a shoo-in at the moment in the Brazil squad. So he's a regular in that Brazil squad. So in a way, you've almost got to applaud him, because with 10 months to go until the World Cup, he's actually willing and wanting to swap leagues, to swap countries. And it's almost a gamble, because if he was to get a move that he wants now, and it doesn't work out until the World Cup, you'd have to say that Brazil will say he's not in form. We can't pick him. Whereas you would think he knows the Brazilian league. He knows Flamengo. He's scoring loads of goals for them. No reason to believe that wouldn't continue, and therefore keep him in the frame for the number 9 shirt with Brazil. So a couple of ways of looking at this, but I think Flamengo will hold the cards with this one because he is under contract with them still.
As far as you're aware, is there any other Premier League clubs in for Gabigol, or is it just West Ham United?
Look, I was told that there are 1 or 2 other clubs in for him, unnamed ones. The only other bit of information that I got was that Zenit St. Petersburg were preparing to make a permanent offer for Gabriel Barbosa. And if Flamengo were considering a sale or letting him go, then I think a permanent sale would probably be more suited to them rather than an 18-month loan followed by the option to buy, because they'll lose a player for 18 months with no guarantee of getting the big money that they would want. And if it doesn't work out in an 18-month loan, the market value of the player usually goes down. So you can see it from Flamengo's perspective. I think the only way that they consider anything, look, I'm not saying that they are, but I'm just looking at it from the outside, is if there's some sort of obligation attached with a deal, and they'll be guaranteed that the money that they would consider would be right for a player of his standing.
Would Gabigol go to another country, or is he set on England? Because what you're saying at the start, it sounds like he wants to move to the Premier League and only the Premier League. So would it, in a weird way, would it matter if a club put the money up to Flamengo for him? Because you need Gabigol to agree to it as well, don't you?
Look, it can change. But as it stands, the information that I've got is that his heart is set on moving to England. He believes that that is the place where he can complete this unfinished business, as it was, which he didn't get to do at Inter Milan. And he really believes that the Premier League in England would be suited for him. And he really does want to make that move at this stage of his career. Look, it can change. Of course it can change, because if you're making noises to your current club, I want to go and I want to go to England, and that move doesn't materialize, and then another club comes in, what have you done to your relationship with your current club? Is there a bit of trust that's been lost between player and club? And then will the club then think, we're going to accept this offer, do you want to go? They have a decision to make.
So to the best of your knowledge, or an educated guess, if you like, for West Ham to pursue this and still have the offer on the table, do you think it's got Moyes' seal of approval? Because like you said, there was an assumption a week ago that Moyes had said no to the player and that it was all off, but now it looks like it's still on. It wasn't really off. So in regards to the Moyes stamp of approval, do you think it's got it? Or is it a bit of a gamble between the board and the manager?
We can't say for 100%, because when it was becoming increasingly unlikely that the deal was going to materialize, that could have come also from the noises Flamengo were making. We're not selling him. We're not loaning him. Whether they've had some sort of encouragement from that side, or whether it's simply, no, we are pursuing this deal, that's a different matter. But what I do know is that the interest is there. It then has to go through the final hurdle, as it were, and that is David Moyes. And you know what? I don't think West Ham fans would have an issue with that, because I think he's earned that now, hasn't he? I mean, you could probably speak a lot better than I can on that. What's the general consensus amongst West Ham fans, considering the job David Moyes has done? He's earned this, hasn't he?
Yeah, I would say so. I think he's earned a lot of fans' trust in regards to his view on transfers and who he wants to get in and stuff. And I think people are more siding with David Moyes rather than the boardroom, perhaps. And it's been 1 or 2 transfers in the past, like Said Benrahma, where people are a bit unsure as to who chose to go and get Said Benrahma to West Ham. And it's now successful, but it took over a year to be successful. So I think, let's just say when Moyes first came in, it was 50-50 as to who the fans want to see get the players in. I think fans are more inclined to see David Moyes do the transfers, especially with Rob Newman in the background now as well. There's probably a greater level of trust put in from the fan base that the due diligence has been done on potential transfers, and anyone that we do go after has been thoroughly scouted, has done what we call sort of the David Moyes MOT test in terms of the characteristics in that. And I think there is a trust in place there. But as we know, transfers in football is a very short-term, fickle business. You know, you get 1 or 2 transfers wrong, suddenly the next window, we don't trust you so much. But at the moment, I think there is a trust, but perhaps a little bit of impatience from West Ham fans. We're currently sitting fourth in the league. We've got, Leeds United and Man United, and it's sort of, if we were to not pick up points in one of those games, is it because we haven't been active in the transfer window thus far? Has that impacted on it? And I think that's where the frustration would lie. But providing that we do well in those two games and we get one or two players in before the deadline day, the window shuts, I think fans will be content at worst. Now, moving from
also as well, I just think, the perception of whether a transfer is a success or it isn't a success. I mean, I'd pick one player from West Ham in Nikola Vlasic. Now, I'm not sure what the fans' view is of that signing, but non-West Ham fans will say simply because he hasn't played, that transfer hasn't worked. But then I think if you look deeper into it, it's the form of the team as well. You've got to take that into account. And if the likes of Mikel Antonio and Gerard Bowen are performing as they are, then a player like Nikola Vlasic, as much as he was quite a big signing for West Ham United in the last window, he might not get a look in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he hasn't been a success. But West Ham are a success. And in a way, when you bring players in, if they're providing competition to push the others to perform better, in a way, that's the definition of success as well, isn't it?
Yes, I do agree. I think the jury's out with Nikola Vlasic at the minute. I think fans are being patient, had some good spells, had some games where we haven't seen enough yet. But I think it's jury's out. We'll judge him towards the end of the season and going into next season. My rule of thumb is always, if we buy someone from overseas, not right off their first year, but wait until the second season, then judge them then once they've got settled in and they've got used to things and stuff. Now, moving from Gabigol to another striker, which we were linked to last week, but it's sort of quieting down on the West Ham front, though. Hugo Ekitike. Am I saying that right?
Yes, very good.
Good. I learned it from you.
That's how I've been saying it. I'm hoping it's right. Hugo Ekitike, yeah. Look, I've seen what you've seen with regard to West Ham's perceived interest in Ekitike. The information that I'm getting is that Newcastle United are pushing hard to try and get a deal done. We had our podcast yesterday, the Transfer Talk podcast. Sorry to plug that again. But we spoke to Julien Laurent, French journalist, on there, and he's not surprised at all that Newcastle are after him. And he says there will be a lot of other clubs who'll be after this player, because even though he's in the infancy of his career, he's only played like 17 games, but he scored 8 goals already. He's a France under-20 international, and Reims, the club that hold him, know that they've got something special on their hands. So the combination of that, plus the fact that Newcastle United suddenly are interested, I think it takes longer to do a deal with Newcastle United, simply because a selling club can see we're dealing with the richest club in the world now. Let's add a zero to this price. And I think Newcastle United are quite wary of being drawn into that. And if West Ham United were interested, I think because of the way it would work with Newcastle, if Reims were demanding some sort of big fee like they are at the moment, because there's a gap in valuation, would West Ham United go that far in a transfer fee if it's being inflated simply because Newcastle United are involved in the deal? As far as I'm aware, Newcastle are still pushing for him. They do want him. They do want him to be part of the squad this season. It's worth about 30 million euros, the deal itself, which is a lot of money when you think about the fact that he has only played 17 times for his club.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Wesley Fofana deal. When he went to Leicester, he hadn't played lots at all. And it was sort of, you're gambling on what you've seen and the potential, and almost like his reputation, if you like, as a youngster, that this guy's going to make it. He's going straight to the top. And you do get that reputation among the youngsters. Mason Greenwood at Man United had it before he'd even played a game for Man U. Everyone knew he was the next big thing. And I call it the Wesley Fofana factor thing, where West Ham sort of were interested in Fofana, balked at the price, thought, we're not paying that much for an inexperienced centre-back. Leicester went and got him, and straight away it looks like a bargain. He's gone into Leicester, bang, he's hit the floor running, and you do think, okay, sometimes some players that are special do pop up, and after so many games, you can just tell they've got it. And what seems like a big price, give it a year or two, it looks like you've got them on the cheap, really.
And with a player like Ekitike, and we are talking about West Ham's interest, That's what I've read as well. But sometimes it's a case of, are the people looking after Ekitike trying to push the club that they're trying to push him towards into doing a deal? So it doesn't harm them if it's out there that a club like West Ham United or any other club are interested in this player. Because if Newcastle went into it and the agents are saying nobody else is interested, it's a one-horse race, they can just relax and say, right, well, if it's a one-horse race, let's relax with the bumping up the price. This is what we want to pay. But then if it starts emerging, well, you better get a move on. West Ham are interested. This team are interested. It happens all the time. So sometimes, is it the club that's interested in the player, or is it the agent pushing a name out there to push the club that they want to do the deal with into doing business? That's nothing, no inside information there, by the way, because as far as West Ham are concerned, I've not heard the information firsthand about an interest from West Ham United. This has just come from what you've read as well, that the information I've got, the person I'm dealing with is dealing with Newcastle.
Right, well, coming up to the second half of the transfer window, as you said, what are you expecting from West Ham? So far, a bit of a quiet window for us, plenty of rumours, but no activity. What are you expecting to see at the London Stadium?
I think they will do some business, only because some of the noises David Moyes has made would suggest that they are in the market to bring a couple of players in. We know that the money is available from the board. That's out there. And also something David Moyes said in a news conference in the past week, where he said it's very difficult to do deals in the January transfer window, but he expects more players to become available in the last 2 weeks. And you see that frantic push towards the last 2 weeks of a transfer window. And that's partly down to brinkmanship on in some areas as well, because as much as clubs are very defiant at the start of a window, even with players who are running down their contracts to win the last 6 months, when it comes towards the end of the window, they start thinking, oh, do we actually want to keep this player because we're not going to get any money out of him? So I think David Moyes is wise to just say, look, let's just take a step back here, because there will be opportunities that will present themselves in the last 2 weeks, which is, he's right, it usually does happen in that way, especially in a January transfer window. Because you've got to remember, and a lot of the clubs that I've spoken to, they don't actually usually plan massively for a January transfer window. Their main focus is always the summer, because they do the bulk of their business in the summer. It's a longer transfer window. There's more preparation to get the players that they want in that transfer window. Sometimes a January window is a reactive one because there are injuries within a squad and they think they need to fill a gap, or we haven't done as well as we thought we would have done. We're in a bit of relegation trouble. Let's try and buy our way out of trouble. So I think the focus is always on a summer transfer window, hence why it's almost seen and perceived to be panic buys. And I don't think that's fair, because if long-term targets do become available in January, a club will be foolish not to go out and try and get that player, because if they wanted to get them in the summer, why not get them in January? Bed them in for 6 months, then they get a pre-season, and then you'll see even better form from them when the season starts again. So I think David Moyes' intention is to bring in a couple of players, and we know the positions he's after. We've talked about them throughout the window. A striker who we've talked about in Gabriel Barbosa. I'm sure there are other names there as well. And a central defender. And that was probably forced upon him because of the injuries that West Ham suffered with Kurt Zouma and Angelo Ogbonna. Now, Ogbona's one's a long-term one. Zouma's one, I mean, it sounds like he's making a miraculous comeback and could be back sooner rather than later. But even with his imminent return, I think David Moyes has still said we're still looking for cover in that position just to cover Ogbonna.
Yeah, I think that's the expectation from West Ham fans, a striker and a centre-back. Perhaps not a substantial investment as centre-back. I think some fans are perhaps expecting a loan move or a bit of a smaller fee gamble from the Championship or something, that someone's plenty of Championship experience might be able to make the step up to the Premier League. Is there any rumblings of a centre-back incoming at West Ham that you've heard? Any names that are of interest to us?
Names-wise, not yet, but the focus would be to bring somebody in, of course. And you're right to say the aim might be to do a short-term deal, because we don't know how Ogbonna's going to come back after that injury, and how long it would take him to get fully up to speed. So if they can bring someone in short-term, if Zuma comes back, you've got Dawson Diop there already. So I think it would be more, as Moyes described it, as cover in case one of those three got injured for the rest of this season. So, you know, a loan with an option is always a good deal, a no-risk deal almost to do if they can get the right player in. And then I'm sure they'll have longer-term targets. One name I could mention, but that's no information just yet, but in the past, West Ham United have tried to sign Burnley's James Tarkowski. Burnley were asking for a lot of money and it didn't materialize. But now Burnley find themselves in a position where Tarkowski has entered the final 6 months of his contract. And it doesn't look like he'll be signing an extension to that contract. And it looks like he'll wait until the summer and just weigh up all of his options. I think it's becoming a theme as well during this transfer window, because there are so many players. I spoke to an agent yesterday and he says he's never seen anything like this before, because there's like millions and millions of pounds worth of talent worldwide that will be free in the summer. No money at all. You're looking at the likes of Mbappe and Paul Pogba, to name two. James Tarkowski is a defender who has been, you know, he's highly rated. A lot of clubs have wanted him in the past. Burnley have managed to keep him, but at what cost? Because I can't see them selling him in January, simply because of the position that they find themselves in, and especially because what's happened this week when Chris Wood's gone from Burnley to their relegation rival Newcastle. You just can't make it up. And so Tarkowski's probably going to weigh up all of his options in the summer. So a player that would have cost West Ham United £50 million if David Moyes still likes the player, no money at all in transfer fee.
Another player running out his contract. I know you didn't name him because you don't want to speak about him. Jesse Lingard. A year ago, actually, just sort of under a year ago, you had fun with the Jesse Lingard deal breaking while you were live on air as he came to West Ham. Obviously, in the summer, we sort of expected West Ham to make a move. That never come through. In January, the rumours have been there again. The links have been there again. Will he stay at Man U? Will he go to West Ham? Will he go to another club? What's the latest on the Jesse Lingard scenario?
It's an interesting situation, that, isn't it? Because I think when he came back and his stock was so high, given how he performed for those 6 months at West Ham. And I think he was given some sort of assurance from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you're going to play. You're part of my plans. And there was even talk, with all of that happening, new contract is in the offing here as well. He is back with United. Sometimes you see when a player is allowed to go on loan, it's like the beginning of the exit from the football club. Whereas this looked like it was the platform and the springboard for him to remain at Manchester United. He hasn't started a Premier League game this season, though. He scored a couple of goals still when he's come off the bench. I know you don't want to talk about one of those goals in particular. And now he finds himself in a situation similar to the one he was in last January. But this time, he's got 6 months left of his contract. Now, one big difference between this time and last time, yes, 6 months left of his contract, but also, I don't know whether this is more of a reflection of how brilliant West Ham are doing or how far Man United have fallen, but they're direct rivals now. And is it in Manchester United's interest to allow Jesse Lingard to go to West Ham United in this transfer window? They are fighting for the top four. West Ham United are 6 points clear of Manchester United. Would Manchester United want to strengthen what is now a top four rival? It wasn't the case last January. Manchester United were going in and around the top two for the majority of that season. This time, it's not the same. And I just wonder now whether Jesse Lingard will, rather like I spoke about James Tarkowski and a lot of these other players who have got 6 months left of their contracts. I'm not hearing too much about pre-contract agreements being signed just now. they seem to be waiting until the summer. It seems to be becoming more of a theme whereby come the summer, all of the clubs that would have been interested in a player on a pre-contract would still be interested in the summer. But then in the summer, this player then has the pick of all of the players in his own country on a free transfer. And I just wonder whether Jesse Lingard is going to just do exactly that and wait until the summer to assess all of his options, because Manchester United then can't stop him joining a West Ham United or a Tottenham, because we know Tottenham have had talks as well about a potential summer move. But on the flip side, from Jesse Lingard's perspective, if he continues like this and doesn't get the game time that he wants, there's a World Cup in 10 months. He was so close to getting into that Euro squad, given the form he did with West Ham in that loan spell, and just missed out. One of the players that just missed out. If he doesn't play regularly till the end of the season, he's going to have a 2 or 3 month window to try and force his way into Gareth Southgate's plans. And I'm sure he wants to be part of that World Cup squad, but that would make it very difficult for him to do that unless he went somewhere else for the first 2 or 3 months of next season and scored every week.
Happy days. Well, some things in the January transfer window are not guaranteed. Signings, good signings, success, but some things are. Twists, turns, rumours, and Dharmesh giving you daily transfer updates over on Sky Sports. If you want to check out his podcast, the link is in the description below. But thank you very much for joining me once again. Really enjoyed that. Interesting about the Barbosa stuff. I think there's a few more twists and turns and chapters of that story to come, if you like. But thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
What is it what everyone says? Don't at me if it doesn't happen.
You can tell you're new to Twitter still. But yes, that
Oh dear.
Right, we'll leave it there. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like on it, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll catch you in a bit.